Hey, my name's Tony. Today we are going to be testing whether coasting in neutral in your Tesla actually adds to your energy efficiency. We're driving through the mountains of Colorado. There's Red Rocks Amphitheater, and we're about to drive down a 7-mile long coasting stretch of I-70. We're going to do it twice, once in neutral, once just using the accelerator, and we'll see which one is more energy efficient. My last three cars before this Tesla were the Jetta TDI and its predecessor, the Jetta EcoDiesel. Those cars got really good gas mileage, and I like to push the gas mileage as far as I could. I like to coast. I like to try and get up over 50 miles per gallon for a tank, get up over 500 or 600 miles per tank in those TDIs. And so naturally, when I started driving this Tesla, when you have downhills, inclines, I like to shift it up into neutral. It's actually kind of hard to do in these Teslas, but I started doing that. And then I was wondering, is this really helping anything? And also, is it bad at all on the motor or the transmission that's in there to be shifting into and out of neutral while you're moving at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour? And so I started looking on the forums, and the consensus seems to be that there's really no benefit from being in neutral, that if you just use the accelerator, at any given point you can be pushing the accelerator far enough that you're accelerating. You can be letting off the accelerator enough to let the regenerative braking, decelerate your car. And if you're right in between, you can ostensibly just be coasting. So the consensus in the forum seems to be that there's no benefit for shifting into neutral. You can just use the accelerator to coast, essentially. But in my mind, that doesn't really make sense. I think that there's something engaged. There's not a traditional transmission. There's something engaged there that disengages when you're in neutral, and it seems to me like you would have some savings, some loss of friction and whatnot if you just go into neutral and coast. But yeah, the arguments on the forum, a lot of people say, oh, it's very dangerous. I imagine those are people that have never driven a stick shift and coasted much in their lives, but a lot of people saying that it's really a bad idea, and that it gains you nothing. So today we're going to actually just test it. We've got a 7-mile long stretch of I-70, and we're going to coast once all the way down using neutral and shifting into drive when we need to decelerate. With neither of these tests are we going to even touch the brakes no matter what, unless we didn't want to wreck. And with the other one, we're going to just use the accelerator pedal to moderate our speed. We'll try and eliminate all the other variables, same weight, same speed more or less, and just keep an eye on the consumption. Look at that, Mike. Keep an eye on the consumption for a stretch of at least 5 miles, and then we'll be able to compare the range and the energy consumption and see once and for all if it does any good to use neutral in your Tesla. And here, take a look at this. To get into neutral, some people don't even know this. You just lightly hold up on the lever, and it goes into neutral. So that's where you're in now. And most people know this too. But if you hit the brake in a Tesla, it doesn't regenerate. There's no regeneration happening. There's no regenerative braking with the brake pad. Or the brake pedal. The only way to regeneratively brake in a Tesla is to just let off the gas pedal, and you can select whether you want to be on standard or low regenerative braking. So for this whole test, we're going to be in standard regenerative braking, which is the maximum braking that you can get by just letting off the accelerator pedal. And we're going to take this coast in the other direction. Right now we're going uphill, but we're going to be going downhill for at least 5 miles, where we should have a big enough stretch to really see even small differences in the range and energy consumption. So here we go. Okay, so we're here at the Buffalo Herd Overlook, Genesee Park, Colorado, and this is the start of our 7-mile coast downhill back into Denver. You can see it's a very pretty little stretch of I-70, and in both situations, again, I'm not going to use the brake and I'm not going to accelerate. I'm only going to coast or regenerate. I'll just get us up to 60, and then let's do the coasting option first. So we're in neutral. I'll probably let us get up to maybe 10 over at most before I regenerate. So we're at 75, we'll brake a little bit, back into neutral. We'll switch to the energy consumption, and you can see already we're not using energy, we're regenerating energy. It's a little bit jerky to do it this way. I mean, I would probably prefer the other way. If this way doesn't really end up saving you any energy consumption, I will drive the other way. I'd prefer not to use neutral. But I have a hunch that this is a better way to do it. So again, you can see my right foot's just on the floorboards. I'm not touching the gas, I'm not touching the brake. All I'm doing is shifting into and out of drive, which I hope isn't bad in any way for the car. So our range has actually gone up, you can see, from 203 up to 206. Oh, now it says regenerative braking limited. I wonder if the regenerative braking gets a little hot after you've done it for quite some time. So here we are back at exit 254, the Buffalo Herd overlook, Genesee Park, Colorado. So it's a 10-mile stretch. We're going from exit 254, mile marker 254, to mile marker 264 without hitting the gas or the brakes. Last time we were, I think, at 204, dropping down to 203 miles of range. Here we're at 182 miles of range, and we gained 3 miles of range last time. So I'll get us up to, again, about 60 with acceleration. Try and replicate as much as possible, and I'll watch the consumption thing, which is on the instant range, not on average range. I'll watch the consumption and just make sure that I never have the car going. So let's see, there's 60. That I never have the car using energy. So I think I'm just coasting now. So it did drop down to 181, so we had probably just dropped to 181 in the way we just dropped to 203. It's a little harder. I'm so scared of using the accelerator that I'm probably regenerating at all times.
So if you let off the accelerator completely, what would happen?
It'll do like a hard brake. I mean, not hard, but we'll feel it.
Would you eventually stop?
It'll go down to, on this decline, it would go down to probably about 10 miles per hour. On a flat ground, it'll go to 5 or 6 miles per hour. You do increase your drag coefficient when you drive faster. So one variable that's different with this, like I've said, is I'm so afraid of accelerating that I've been probably regeneratively braking more than I was when I was coasting. So my speed has been slower. So that should reduce my drag coefficient and should actually improve the range with this approach. But I'll try and minimize those variables. We just jumped up 3 miles in our battery charge, which I think is pretty similar to what happened in the other approach. On these almost flat sections, it does seem almost impossible to just coast. It seems like it hovers you right around the positive and negative. So we're still at 184, so still 3 miles above what we started. And when we get to the stop sign, or the stop light, we can stop and compare. I just let off completely, Mike, so you can feel what that feels like. There we go. So now we can look at the difference between the two. Good, and do close on that one and a close on that one. So there's the first, and there's the second. So now this says 187 as our range, 6 miles above where we started. All right, so here we are again back at the Buffalo Herd overlook. This time I'm going to do it by shifting in and out of neutral. We'll see if it changed anything. So we're at 160 right now. I'm gonna get us up to 60 miles per hour. And again, the AC is off. I've turned the fans off. There's nothing else going on that's any different. I'll get us up to 60. We're at 160 miles of range, and then I'm going to shift us into neutral. When I get up above 70, when I get up to 75 or so, I'll shift into gear, let it regenerative brake, keep us at about the same speed we were at when I was using the accelerator to regulate our speed. So again, every time that I want to slow down, instead of letting off the gas pedal since I'm in neutral, I shift down into drive, let the regenerative braking take over briefly, and then let it get back to coasting. So we're still at 160. I feel like here is about where the last few times it's jumped up to about 3 miles more than... There we go. Yeah, so now it just jumped up to 163. Same place as it did both last times. Again, fans are off, AC's off. We're really not using any other energy that we have any control over. And we're using the standard regenerative braking setting, coasting for almost exactly 10 miles. And I think last time what gave it that extra 3-mile kick at the very end was just me letting regenerative take us all the way to a stop. Whereas the time before, I actually used the brakes at the very end. I think they're pretty similar, and my guess would be that, I don't know, my guess would be that this way edges out the other way by efficiency ranges, but by such a small amount that it's really not worth doing it like this. This time we aren't getting the warning that regenerative braking is limited, so it's good news. Alright, and this time we didn't have to use the brakes to come to a complete stop. Again, we can pull into the Taco Bell and look at the comparison. But it does look like there's a little bit more regenerative braking happening here. I mean, it really looks to me like throughout the whole process, there's a little bit more negative watts per mile happening. Do a close-up on that one, and then a close-up on that one. So that's just using the accelerator pedal, which is a lot more smooth. It is interesting, though. Oh, now it just kicked up to 165. So that's a 5-mile increase. 6-mile increase. Now it's at 166. So that's the exact same increase we saw with the other one. With the first 3 coming at one point, and then the last 3 coming at the very, very end. Alright, you can stop it.